In a world where time waits for no one, there are those who seek to defy its relentless march. Legends are born from the stories of those who make deals with the unseen, who seek power, beauty, and eternal youth at any cost. But what happens when one's desire to cheat time goes too far? This is the tale of Zuri, beautiful, eternal, and trapped in a cycle of endless youth. For years, she has watched as the world around her ages, the faces of those she once loved turn into memories. As she remains untouched by time, she has learned the harsh truth: immortality is not a gift, but a prison. Zuri's story is one of desire, sacrifice, and the price of immortality. A journey that will take her deep into the heart of an ancient forest, where spirits and magic intertwine with fate, and where one fateful decision will change everything. But every gift comes with a price. And Zuri is about to learn just how high that price can be. In the heart of the forest, where the shadows dance and time itself seems to pause, there exists a place forgotten by the world. A place where old magic lingers, untouched by man, untamed by civilization. This is a realm where the very earth holds secrets older than any mortal mind could comprehend. It is here, in the heart of this sacred and mysterious land, that Zuri finds herself walking, seeking something that cannot be undone, a wish that comes with a price too great to fathom. Zuri, a woman whose beauty has never known the passage of years, is no stranger to the cruelty of time. Though the world around her has aged, and the faces she once loved have turned to memories, she remains untouched. While others grow old, she stays the same, forever young, forever beautiful. But with her agelessness comes a curse, a loneliness that festers deep within her heart. Zuri watches as those she loves age, wither, and eventually vanish, leaving her behind. She watches, unable to join them, trapped in a body that never changes. And so, she seeks a way out. A way to escape this endless solitude. It is here, before this sacred spring, that Zuri will make her choice. Legends of this place are passed down from generation to generation, stories of a spring that grants eternal youth to those who drink from it. A promise of endless beauty and time standing still. But even the most powerful magic demands a price, and Zuri is too desperate to see the cost of the wish she is about to make. She stops at the edge of the spring, kneeling before it. She hesitates for a moment, her fingers brushing the glowing surface of the water. The camera lingers on her face, capturing the internal struggle within her, her desire to remain young and beautiful, her fear of the unknown. For a brief second, doubt flashes in her eyes, but it quickly fades, replaced by a fierce resolve. She knows what she must do. Suddenly, the soft murmur of the wind stops, and a heavy silence falls over the clearing. The spirit of the forest, ancient and eternal, keeper of forgotten knowledge, appears before Zuri. Its presence is both calming and terrifying. It has seen countless souls come and go, each seeking its own desires, each paying the price for their folly. And it knows the price that Zuri will soon pay. Yet, the spirit does not speak of it, not yet. The spirit raises one glowing hand, and the air around them hums with an invisible power. The forest seems to hold its breath, as if waiting for something momentous to unfold. You seek immortality, child. A wish not meant for mortals. The voice of the spirit echoes through the clearing, reverberating in the very bones of the forest. It is a voice that carries the weight of millennia, a voice that knows the fate of those who dare to seek what cannot be had. Zuri stands frozen for a moment, the weight of the spirit's words sinking in. She knows the warnings, the stories she has heard as a child. But none of that matters now. Her longing is too great, her fear of fading too powerful to ignore. And so, she speaks, her voice barely above a whisper. I cannot bear to grow old. To lose my youth, my beauty, to be forgotten. I want to stay the way I am. Forever. The spirit gazes at her, its eyes glowing brighter as it considers her request. A long silence hangs in the air as the forest holds its breath. Then, the spirit speaks once more, its voice tinged with sorrow. The price is steep. You will gain what you seek, but at what cost? Immortality is not a gift. It is a prison. One that will isolate you from all that you hold dear. Are you willing to bear this burden? Zuri stands still, her heart racing. The weight of the spirit's words presses down on her, but she doesn't hesitate. She knows what she wants, what she needs. Her fear of being forgotten outweighs the fear of being alone. I understand. I'll bear whatever comes. I cannot fade away. Not like the others. The spirit raises its hand, and the glow from the spring intensifies. The air around them crackles with energy. Zuri takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decision. She steps forward and drinks from the spring. The water is cool and strangely sweet, and as she drinks, a surge of energy pulses through her body. For a moment, she feels invincible, as though she could live forever. The world around her seems to slow, and she knows in that instant that her wish has been granted. And so, in that moment, Zuri's wish was granted. Her beauty would never fade, her youth would remain untouched by time. But she could not know the price, not yet. Immortality, after all, is not a gift to be accepted lightly. It is a curse, a weight that cannot be lifted. And Zuri had just sealed her fate. The spirit fades into the shadows of the forest, leaving Zuri standing alone by the spring. Her face is expressionless, but her eyes hold a glimmer of something darker now, a realization that what she sought may not be all it seemed. She turns away from the spring, the echoes of the spirit's words lingering in the air as she walks deeper into the unknown. Years passed, though Zuri never changed. Her skin remained as flawless as the day she first drank from the enchanted spring. Her youth, untouched by time. Yet, with every passing year, a quiet sadness began to settle deep within her. She was still the same, but the world around her had moved on. Zuri had watched as her friends grew older, their laughter and warmth fading with age. The vibrant faces she once knew, now unrecognizable, replaced with wrinkles and graying hair. The ones she had loved had passed, one by one, leaving her to walk alone in a world where time was no longer her ally. I am alone. Every face I knew is gone. My friends, my family, they withered while I stood still. The world changes, but I remain the same. I don't know how to stop it. There is a long silence. The weight of her words hangs heavy in the air. Zuri's voice trembles slightly as she speaks again. I thought I wanted this. I thought I wanted to never grow old, to remain beautiful forever. But what's beauty when no one is left to share it with? What's youth when you're the only one who still has it? Zuri found herself drifting through life like a shadow. She could no longer form lasting bonds. No one could age alongside her. No matter how many faces she saw, they all grew old and passed away, leaving her untouched, forever separated from the world she once knew. The days blurred together, and with them, the meaning of her existence seemed to slip further away. The sound of children laughing and playing in the distance. Zuri watches them from a distance, her expression vacant, longing, yet disconnected from the joy they experience. She watched them play, children, full of life and hope. They were everything she once had, the innocence, the promise of the future. But she was no longer a part of that world. She had been left behind, stuck in a moment that would never end. They are so full of life. Full of everything I've lost. I thought I could escape time. I thought I could outlive it, but instead, I've become a prisoner to it. Zuri turns away from the children, her face filled with longing and despair. As the years went by, Zuri's heart grew colder. She had everything, beauty, youth, and time, but nothing she could truly hold on to. The people she once cared for faded into memory, and she began to question the very price of immortality. Was eternal youth worth the endless loneliness that came with it? Her immortality had freed her from the ravages of time, but it had also locked her in an endless cycle, watching others age, watching them die, while she stayed frozen in a moment of youth, forever distant, forever unchanged. I've been waiting. Waiting for something, anything, to change. But no matter how many years pass, I remain the same. I'm stuck in this unending present. There's no escaping it. Zuri walks through the village, seeing the same faces. Some of them look at her with awe, others with suspicion. Her ageless beauty still commands attention, but it only makes her feel more isolated. The whispers follow her. She never ages. I've seen her for years, and she looks exactly the same. There's something unnatural about her. They say she made a deal with the spirits. But there's always a price, isn't there? The whispers of the village followed Zuri wherever she went. She was a mystery, an enigma. To some, she was a marvel, a woman who defied the laws of nature. To others, she was a warning. A symbol of the dangers of meddling with forces beyond understanding. No one truly understood her, and the loneliness she felt grew heavier with each passing day. Zuri reaches her home, a place that once felt like a sanctuary, but now feels empty. She enters, sitting at a table that has seen countless lonely nights. The candlelight flickers as she gazes out the window, the outside world continuing without her. They look at me like I'm some kind of goddess. But I'm just a prisoner. Trapped in this endless, unchanging life. Her voice breaks slightly as she continues. I've lived for so long, but I've never truly lived. Not like they do. I can't feel what they feel. I can't experience life the way they do. I've become a ghost, a beautiful, timeless ghost. The price of immortality had become clear. It was not the loss of beauty or youth, it was the loss of time itself. Time to love, to live, to grow. Zuri was stuck in a moment, forever separated from the world around her. And as the years passed, the weight of that separation began to crush her. Zuri stands up abruptly, walking out of the room as if trying to escape her own thoughts. She steps outside, the cool night air brushing against her face, but the sense of emptiness still lingers. Zuri was no longer just a woman who refused to age. She was a woman who had forgotten how to live. A woman who had everything, and yet nothing at all. And the darkness of that realization crept deeper into her heart. As the years stretched on, Zuri's despair deepened. The loneliness that had once been a quiet companion now consumed her every waking moment. She had everything, the beauty, the youth, the time, but it was all meaningless. Without the ability to grow, to change, or to experience the simple joys of life, Zuri felt lost. She had sought counsel from the elders of the village, but none could offer her solace. They spoke of her beauty, of her agelessness, as though it were a gift, a blessing bestowed upon her. Yet Zuri could see through their words. She knew it was a curse. So, she turned to the one person in the village who might understand her plight, Elder Kofi, a man known for his wisdom and knowledge of the old ways. He had seen the world change, and he had seen the cost of meddling with forces beyond mortal comprehension. She needed to hear the truth about the price she had paid. The camera lingers on Zuri as she walks toward Elder Kofi's home, her pace slow but purposeful. The village around her is alive with movement, but she is always on the outside, separate from it all. She knows that no one can truly understand her. Zuri's footsteps echoed in the quiet village as she made her way to Elder Kofi's home. The walls of the small hut were lined with ancient symbols and relics, remnants of a time when the spirits were closer to the people. It was here, in this space filled with the weight of history, that Zuri hoped to find the answers she had been searching for. Zuri arrives at the door of the hut and hesitates for a moment before knocking. The door creaks open, and Elder Kofi, An elderly man with kind eyes but a weariness that suggests the weight of many years, stands in the doorway. Elder Kofi had lived a long life, filled with both wisdom and sorrow. He had seen things, seen the power of the spirits, seen the rise and fall of those who sought more than they were meant to have. His knowledge was vast, but his heart had grown heavy with the years. He knew the cost of immortality. And he knew that Zuri had already paid it. Elder Kofi gestures for Zuri to enter. She steps inside, and they sit together by the dim light of a fire. The room is filled with the scent of herbs and incense, the flickering flames casting long shadows across the walls. The air in the hut was thick with the smell of burning incense and the weight of unanswered questions. Zuri sat across from Elder Kofi, her heart heavy with fear and longing. She had come for answers, but the answers she sought may not be the ones she wanted to hear. Elder Kofi, I cannot bear this anymore. I have lived for so long, watched everything I knew fade away while I remain untouched by time. The world moves on, but I am stuck, forever frozen in this moment. Please, tell me there is a way to end this. Tell me there is a way to be free. Elder Kofi's face softens with understanding, but his eyes darken as if he knows the painful truth he must share. He sits quietly for a moment, weighing his words carefully. Elder Kofi had known for years what Zuri had come to understand. The curse of immortality was a heavy one that could not be undone easily. There was no simple remedy, no magic spell that could turn back the clock. Time, once cheated, would never forgive. Zuri, child, you sought to escape time, to escape the inevitable. But in doing so, you have bound yourself to a life that is not truly life at all. To live forever is to outlive everything you hold dear. It is to be separated from the world in ways that cannot be mended. Zuri listens, her heart sinking with each word. The truth is more painful than she had imagined. The weight of her decision, the decision to drink from the enchanted spring, begins to crush her. Zuri had hoped that there might be a way out, that somehow the curse could be reversed. But Elder Kofi's words shattered that hope. There was no magic that could undo what had been done. No spell to lift her from the eternal prison she had created for herself. But there must be something. Some way to fix it. I can't live like this anymore. I can't bear the loneliness. I can't bear watching everyone I love grow old and die, while I remain the same. Elder Kofi sighs deeply, his face full of sorrow. There is a way, Zuri. But it is not a simple one. To break the curse of immortality, you must give up what you have gained, your youth, your beauty, your life as it is now. But it is not just your immortality that must be sacrificed. It is the life of someone else. Zuri's eyes widen, and her breath catches in her throat. She feels a cold wave of fear wash over her. To break the curse, Zuri would have to make the ultimate sacrifice, not just her immortality, but the life of someone else. It was a price far steeper than she could have imagined. Someone else? You mean? I must give up someone I love. Elder Kofi nods gravely, his face lined with regret. Yes. The cost must be paid for in blood. The life of another must be taken for you to be free. It is the only way. The weight of this revelation crushed her. She had already sacrificed so much, but this was too much. How could she choose to end another life to regain her own? The love she had longed for, the love she had never been able to keep, could she now be forced to destroy to break free? I don't know if I can. How can I? How can I take someone's life to save my own? And so, Zuri was faced with a choice that would shape the rest of her existence. To continue living in endless loneliness and regret, or to sacrifice another for her own freedom. Either way, she would lose. Either way, she would pay the price. The days that followed were filled with turmoil. Zuri could not escape the weight of the choice that hung over her. The words of Elder Kofi echoed in her mind, like a constant whisper that refused to be silenced. The path ahead seemed impossible. How could she choose to end another life, no matter the cost? She had sought immortality to escape the ravages of time, but in the process, she had become something else, something detached from the world she had once known. Her eternal beauty had become a prison, and now, the price to escape it seemed too high to bear. Could she really sacrifice someone she loved to regain what she had lost? Zuri wandered through the village, the faces she saw seeming more distant than ever before. The laughter, the love, the warmth that she once took for granted now felt out of reach. She saw the elderly, those who had lived their lives and whose time was coming to an end. She saw children, their faces full of promise, and her heart twisted with the unbearable truth that she would never experience the cycle of life the way they would. But one face lingered in her mind, Tariq, the young man who had come into her life with such hope. He had loved her without hesitation, had accepted her as she was. His affection had been genuine, something she had not felt in so long. He, too, had watched the world change around him. But unlike Zuri, he would grow old, and eventually, he would die. Could she choose him? Could she condemn him to a fate he did not deserve in order to save herself? Zuri had seen what time could do to the people around her, how it aged them, how it took them from her. But never had she truly considered the cost of being the one to defy time. As she walked, she realized that the burden of immortality had grown too heavy. The choice she had to make was not just about her own freedom, but about the lives of those she loved, and how their futures were intertwined with her past. She stops in the middle of the village square, watching the young people laugh and talk together. A child runs past her, laughing joyfully. Zuri's gaze softens for a moment, and she closes her eyes, as if blocking out the world around her. I never thought about this. I never thought about what it would mean to keep living while everyone else fades away. I thought I was escaping time, but I was only running from what I feared most, being alone. Zuri takes a deep breath, trying to steady herself as her thoughts race. I have to make a choice. I cannot continue like this. I've seen so many die, my friends, my family, strangers who had once been my neighbors, and yet, I remain. The world moves on, but I do not. The voice of Tariq rings in her mind, his words of love, of hope, of a future together. She sees his face before her, warm and kind, filled with sincerity. But she knows that he, too, will grow old. He will suffer as those before him have, and in time, he will die. Tariq had been the one person who had truly seen her, not just her ageless beauty, but the pain that lay behind it. He had promised to love her through all things, to stand by her, no matter the cost. But could she allow him to live, knowing that his life would one day be taken by the very time she had cheated? Zuri knew what she had to do. The choice was not just about escaping the prison of immortality, it was about facing the truth that life, in all its forms, had its own course. No one could outrun it forever. But who would she choose? Who would be the one to pay the price for her freedom? Zuri looks toward the horizon, the weight of the world on her shoulders. The village seems distant now, just another part of a life that she could never truly be a part of. The burden of her decision grew heavier with each passing moment. She could no longer avoid the truth. No matter how much she longed for the world she had once known, no matter how much she wanted to escape the endless cycle of loneliness, she knew there could be no escape without sacrifice. But the question remained, was there anyone she could bring herself to sacrifice? Zuri walks to a quiet part of the village, standing alone by a stone bench. She closes her eyes, listening to the wind rustling through the trees. She is torn between her love for Tariq and the knowledge that freeing herself from this curse might mean losing him forever. What have I become? A woman who cannot love, because to love means to watch someone wither away while I stay the same. What good is immortality when the cost is the life of another? Her mind races. She pictures Tariq's face again, his kind eyes, his unwavering love. He had become her lifeline, and yet she knew that to free herself, to live without the endless ache of time passing her by, she might have to let him go. Zuri stood at the crossroads of her fate. One path led to freedom, to a return to the life she had longed for if she could bear the weight of her choice. The other path led to an eternity of loneliness, of watching the world pass her by while she remained forever unchanged. Either way, she would lose. The question was no longer just about her immortality, it was about the cost of that immortality. And Zuri was running out of time to make her decision. The days stretched on, and the weight of Zuri's decision grew heavier. The choice she faced was more than just a question of immortality, it was a question of life and death. She had come to understand that her freedom would cost someone else their future. The question that haunted her every waking moment was who would pay the price for her to live. She wandered through the village, but it felt like a world she no longer belonged to. Faces she had once known, faces that had once been her friends, her family, now felt like distant memories. Time had passed them by, but it had left her frozen, untouched, and forever separated from the flow of life. Zuri's eyes fell on Tariq, who was sitting near the village square, talking with friends, laughing with the warmth of youth. He was the one person who had cared for her, loved her without question. She had found a sense of peace in his presence, a connection she thought she had lost forever. But the truth was, if she truly loved him, she would have to let him go. Tariq was the only person who had ever truly seen her. He didn't see just the ageless beauty, the woman frozen in time. He saw the loneliness, the pain that came from being cursed to live forever. He had loved her with a sincerity that no one else had ever shown her. But now, love was not enough. Zuri's heart ached as she watched him. She wanted to be with him, to let him grow old beside her. But immortality had no room for such things. If she wanted freedom, she had to make a choice. How do I do this? How do I live with the weight of this decision? To take a life, to take his life. Just to be free. She begins to walk toward him, her steps heavy, as though the very earth beneath her feet is resisting the weight of her decision. The closer she gets, the more her heart breaks. I thought I was making a choice to live, but in reality, I am choosing death. His death. How do I ask someone to pay this price for me? How do I let him go? She reaches him, standing a few feet away. Tariq looks up, his face lighting up with recognition. His smile is genuine, warm. The love in his eyes is clear, and for a moment, Zuri wishes she could turn back time. Zuri, I've been looking for you. I was hoping we could spend some time together. Zuri's throat tightens as she tries to speak, but the words seem to catch in her chest. She forces a smile, but it feels hollow. Tariq. There's something I need to tell you. Something you don't know about me. What's wrong, Zuri? You seem distant. You've been like this for days now. Zuri hesitates, struggling to find the words. The pain in her chest is unbearable. Finally, she speaks. I made a choice, Tariq. A long time ago. And now, I'm paying the price for it. The curse I carry, it's not just mine. It's a curse that will take from those I love. It will take from you. And I don't know if I can bear it. The words seem to hit Tariq like a shockwave. He stands up quickly, his face filled with confusion and concern. Zuri, what are you talking about? What curse? What do you mean, take from me? What's going on? You're scaring me. I sought immortality, Tariq. I drank from the spring, and in doing so, I became cursed. I can never age. I can never grow old. But the price of my immortality, the price is that someone else must pay. Someone I love. Tariq steps back, a stunned expression on his face as the realization begins to sink in. You mean that you have to sacrifice someone? But why? Why would you let this happen? Why didn't you tell me? Because I couldn't. I couldn't let you know. I couldn't risk losing you. But now, I see that it's too late. If I want to be free, if I want to be human again, I have to make the hardest choice of my life. And that choice is you. The silence between them is deafening. Tarek stares at her, the shock in his eyes turning into something darker, hurt, disbelief, and a growing sense of betrayal. He steps back, his voice cold. You would sacrifice me. After everything we've been through. After everything I've given you. You want me to die just so you can feel human again. Zuri's heart shatters as the words cut through her like a knife. She can't speak. The pain of what she's about to do is too much for her to bear. And in that moment, Zuri realized the true cost of immortality. It wasn't just about the years she had stolen from time, it was about the lives she had destroyed in the process. And the price was far steeper than she had ever imagined. Tarek turns and walks away, his back to her. Zuri stands still, frozen in place, the reality of her choice sinking in. Zuri had come to the edge of her humanity. And now, she would face the ultimate test. Would she follow through with her decision and sacrifice the one person who had truly loved her? Or would she walk away from the chance to live, knowing that her immortality had cost her everything? The words seemed to fade around Zuri as she stood in the village square, watching Tarek walk away from her, his steps distant and resolute. The love they had shared, genuine, unbroken, and full of promise, had shattered in the span of a single conversation. His face was still burned into her memory, the hurt and disbelief in his eyes. It was a look she would never forget. Her heart, once so full of hope and longing, now felt hollow. She had come to the brink of freedom, the freedom to be human again. But the cost was greater than she had ever imagined. She had done the unthinkable. She had offered him up to the very curse she had tried to escape. The one person who had loved her, who had accepted her despite the burden she carried. And now, that love was lost. The very thing that had kept her grounded had slipped away, leaving her to face the emptiness of her immortality alone. I thought I was making a choice for freedom. For life. But all I've done is make myself a monster. I traded love for immortality, and in doing so, I lost everything that mattered. Zuri had thought that freedom meant escaping the burden of time, that somehow, if she could live forever, she would be free to experience life on her own terms. But immortality, as she had learned, had no place for love, for companionship, or for the simple joys of living. It was a prison. A prison with no escape, no matter how many years passed. The spring, the source of her eternal youth, the place where it all began, was no longer the enchanted pool she had once believed it to be. It was just water. Ordinary water, reflecting the same sky that had always been there. There was no magic left for her here. No power. Only the echoes of her past choices. I thought I could have it all. I thought I could escape time without losing myself. But now, I see, this was never about immortality. It was about running from the truth. Running from the inevitable. Zuri had sought a way to break free from the prison of time, but she had learned that true freedom could not be won through sacrifice. The price she had paid, her love, her humanity, was too great. There was no magic that could fix the damage she had caused. No way to turn back the clock. Perhaps this is my punishment. To live forever, but never truly live. To watch the world pass me by, while I remain trapped in the same moment, forever. But at least I understand now. It was never about time. It was always about what I was willing to sacrifice to keep it. And so, Zoe stood at the edge of the world she had known, her heart heavy with the knowledge that immortality had come at a cost greater than she could bear. She had wanted to escape the ravages of time, to defy the one thing that could never be outrun. But in the end, she learned that some things, like love and the passage of time, were beyond her control. Zoe turns and walks back into the forest, disappearing into the shadows of the trees. The wind stirs, carrying with it the faintest whisper of a song, one of lost dreams, of time that could never be turned back. Zoe's story is one of beauty, sorrow, and the unyielding passage of time. She sought to escape the inevitable, believing that immortality would grant her freedom. But in the end, she learned the harsh truth: some things are beyond control. Time, love, and the price of immortality come with a cost that, no matter how hard we try, cannot be avoided. Zuri had chosen eternal youth, but in doing so, she sacrificed the one thing that truly mattered: the ability to grow, to change, to live fully in each moment. She learned that no amount of beauty or time could replace the relationships, the love, and the experiences that make life worth living. In the end, Zoe did not find the freedom she sought. She found only the painful reality of immortality, the endless solitude, the never-ending cycle of watching others pass while she remained untouched. Her story is a reminder to us all that while we may dream of escaping time, we must never forget what makes life beautiful: the fleeting moments, the relationships, the chance to experience the world with those we love. For no matter how hard we try, we cannot outrun time. And in the end, it is not immortality that brings peace, it is living with the knowledge that every moment counts. Zoe's journey may have ended in sorrow, but it serves as a lesson to cherish the time we have, to live fully, and to never take a single moment for granted. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Tales Reimagined. Stay tuned for more stories that bring the magic, mystery, and wisdom of Africa to life. Until next time, remember that every moment is a gift.